family. This is Tanya Rutledge of the Nguzo Saba 365, wishing you a happy Habari Gani Humpday. Thank you for tuning in to our special Habari Gani Humpday Kwanzaa series. And for tonight's episode, we want to talk about today's news, which is the Nguzo Saba and Kwanzaa 101. So we talk about how things relate to the seven principles a lot, but we really haven't talked too much about what the principles are, how they were established. And this is actually our year anniversary of establishment. So we really want to talk about that. Initially, when this was started, I actually started with a series of YouTube videos that are somewhat long and somewhat cumbersome because I'm really excited about this topic. But wanted to give you guys tonight just a very, very quick, brief and to the point. So that means less than 15 minutes. Intro to what the Nguzo Saba actually is, what is Kwanzaa, so that you understand how it was established. All right, so let's get started. So what is the Nguzo Saba? So the Nguzo Saba is Swahili for seven principles. It was identified by Dr. Malana Karenga in the mid-1960s, and the goal was to establish the Nguzo Saba as a standard of personal and social excellence for people of African descent. But why? So why did Dr. Karenga and those that he worked with want to even do this? Why was this even a mission? So let's talk about it. So during the mid-1950s to the 1970s, most of us know that was the period that encompassed the Civil Rights Movement and the Black Power Movement. So the Civil Rights Movement, 1950s, 1960s, some of us were born then, some of us weren't. But most of us know that that movement was about social justice. It was about equal rights, ending racial discrimination, disenfranchisement, ending segregation. That was the main focus of the Civil Rights Movement. Well, as our people started moving from to the later 1960s to 1970s, the focus became a little bifurcated and changed direction a little bit for some. There were some in our community that said that the civil rights movement doesn't go far enough, that there were things that are just not being addressed in the civil rights movement. And so the Black Power movement began, and that was based on self-determination and self-sufficiency. So the focus was more about fostering racial safety. So that's when you started to see more of Black people armed to the T, serious faces that really sent a message of do not touch our people. Do not touch us. We will take care of our people by any means necessary. There was a focus on self-reliance. There was a focus on Black pride. This is when you started to hear Black power, Black is beautiful. Those terms, those phrases, a lot of that ideology came out of the Black Power movement. Now, mind you, there were periods in time that mirror both of these movements, and there were often key players in our stories, our history stories that would really seem to fall on the line of civil rights movement versus Black Power movement. We've always had those juxtaposed figures in our history, but I just really want to focus on this period of time at this moment. Those two movements came together really, if you look at it, to bring about one big movement, and that was the Black freedom movement. So that no matter what side they were or you are on the argument, I think most of us would be able to agree that each of these groups, each of these ideologies came out of a love for our people and wanting us to be better. Now, in terms of the Nguzo Saba and the things that we're starting to discuss around that was more of an ideology that came from the Black Power movement in terms of the idea of Sankofa. Sankofa is a Ghanaian term from the Akan people, and it literally means to reach back and get what was taken from you, get what was lost. If you are not familiar with an Adinkra symbol is like an African symbol. It's a little picture, and it is a symbol for something. So the symbol for Sankofa is a bird, and the bird is actually turning its head backwards and reaching back for an egg. And that symbolizes reaching back to get what was taken from you, or reaching back to get what was lost. So when we ask why did Dr. Karanga and the people he worked with want to establish this personal and social standard for excellence amongst African people, this was why. They wanted to establish a Black value system that was based on our cultural roots. Our cultural roots, let me say it one more time, our cultural roots. Sometimes in this day and age, considering the things that our people have gone through and the impact that it has had on us, we think we need to look at other cultures to find positive role models, to find models of how to live and how to be our best selves, that we need to look at people of Asian descent to figure out how to establish peace, joy, and tranquility in our lives. Sometimes we feel that we need to look at people of Latino descent to determine how we could go about being more unified, to share with each other, to increase our work ethic. Though those are great places to look, we need to understand that we need to look no further really than our own ancestry in the example that was provided by our ancestors throughout the continent that we were originated from, because that is where these values lie. We don't have to look anywhere else. We can simply just look inside. So the Nguzo Saba was founded as really a basis. Let me start again on that. So the Nguzo Saba was really based on norms and mores of communal living and cultural practices of African communities. So this was the foundation really for it. As I said, this was based on our own people. There are examples to this day throughout the continent of people working together in communal living situations throughout the continent. It was how our people survived. You can see it in the way we farmed. You can see it in the way we lived. You can see it in the way we shared our meals. Things were shared communally, and a lot of that was lost for our people through the Ma'afa, through the transatlantic slave trade. And so the Nguzo Saba helped to bring those things back to us, to give us that Sankofa of reaching back and getting what was lost from us. Now, the Nguzo Saba is the foundation of Kwanzaa. So what is Kwanzaa? Kwanzaa is an Afro-centered holiday founded in 1966 by the US organization. It is based on first fruit celebrations that can be found throughout African nations. And each day represents a principle found commonly in African societies. Kwanzaa begins on December 26th and ends on January the 1st. Now, let me take a step back in terms of first fruit celebrations. What are first fruit celebrations? So our people have always been a spiritual people. In many ways, some of that over time has been turned against us. So our people always believed that it was our creator, that it was our ancestors that provided us with the things that we needed in this life. And amongst those most important things was the crops that sustained us. So many of our people throughout the continent gave back those first crops, the first fruit that were harvested, back to their ancestors, back to the creator, in appreciation for the fact that had it not been for those creators, for those ancestors, that we would not have these things. And so I just want to make sure that we understand that was the concept behind first fruits. So how can we make sure that the Nguzo Saba is effective? Well, let's think about that. If you practice something that you love or something that was important for 7 days, put it up and never talked about it again until the next year when those 7 days came back, how good would you be at it? How much would you understand it? How much would you be able to talk about it? Probably not too much. So the most important way to make sure that the Nguzo Saba is an effective standard of excellence, social and personal excellence for our people, is for us to practice it every day and not just on accident, on purpose. So it's not just about being good for the sake of being good, it's about taking on the principles and ideas of goodness and understanding that those are principles of your people. There are human principles, but they're very well connected to your people. That we have language around it that can serve to unify us, and that a lot of this is us trying to pick up the pieces of what is lost. I cannot particularly say that my people were from this exact place, in this exact tribe, in this exact region. I cannot necessarily say that, but I can say that generally, this is what my people believe. And if I practice that every day and I make sure that I think of that as something that is related to my people and not me imitating another people, man, how much power does that have? And we pass that along to our children. How much power does that give them? An immense amount of power. So, what are the principles of the Nguzo Saba? What are the 7 principles of Kwanzaa? What are these days of Kwanzaa that are celebrated? Well, let's chat about them briefly. If you are familiar with the Nguzo Saba 365, that is a part of the basis of what we try to teach, what we try to put out to people in snippets in different ways. The first principle is umoja, which means unity. That is to strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. The second principle is self-determination, which is kujichagulia. It means to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, speak for ourselves. The third principle is ujima, or collective work and responsibility. This means to build and maintain our community together and make our brothers and sisters' problems our own and solve them together. Fourth principle is uchama, which means cooperative economics. This holiday, please remember to practice uchama when you make considerations for your holiday shopping. This means to build and maintain our stores, shops, and other businesses to profit from them together. And if you check out the last video that we made in our Habari Gani Humpday Kwanzaa series, it was about the less model. Check that video out because it really gives you a nice, neat, compact way to think about how to go about your holiday shopping this year, how to spend. The fifth principle is nia, which means purpose. That means to make as our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. The sixth principle is Kuumba, which means creativity. This means to do always as much as we can in the way that we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than when we inherited it. Last but certainly not least, the seventh principle is imani, which means faith. This means to believe in all of our hearts, with all of our hearts, in our Creator, our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. We hope you enjoyed our time tonight in this Habari Gani Humpday piece. And we hope that you tune in for us next Wednesday when we are going to talk about Kwanzaa. It is all about Kwanzaa. What do I need to celebrate? How do I celebrate? Until then, like, share, follow, and stay principled, family. Love you. Have a nice night.